Imagine a promise whispered on the wind, a future just beyond the horizon, but blocked by an insurmountable barrier. This was the reality for the nation of Israel. Before they could ever set foot in the land God had promised them, a land flowing with milk and honey, they faced a city that defied all logic of conquest. Its name was Jericho. This wasn't just a town, it was a fortress, a symbol of human strength and military might. Its walls were legendary, so massive that chariots could race upon their tops. Jericho was the first, and seemingly greatest, obstacle standing between a wandering people and the destiny God had laid out for them. It was a test, placed there deliberately by God Himself, not to defeat them, but to reveal His power in a way they would never forget. Joshua, the man chosen to lead Israel after Moses, stood before these colossal walls. He was a seasoned general, a man of strategy and war. He had skilled soldiers, sharpened weapons, and a mind trained for battle. But God's plan was something entirely different, something beyond the scope of human understanding. As Joshua contemplated the impossible task ahead, he looked up and saw a figure standing before him. The man held a drawn sword, radiating an authority that was not of this world. This was no ordinary soldier, nor was he an enemy. It was the commander of the Lord's army, a celestial messenger sent from God. The commander's words were stunning, a declaration that turned all military logic on its head. He said, "See, I have delivered Jericho into your hands, along with its king and its mighty men of valor." Delivered. Past tense. The victory was already secured before a single stone was thrown, before a single soldier charged. The outcome was not in question, it was a settled fact in the economy of heaven. But how would this victory be realized? Then came the battle plan. Perhaps the strangest set of military orders ever given in the history of warfare. There would be no siege towers, no battering rams, no scaling ladders. The instructions were simple, yet profound. You shall march around the city, all the men of war, going around the city once. This you shall do for 6 days. 7 priests shall bear 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark. But on the 7th day, you shall march around the city 7 times, and the priests shall blow the trumpets. It shall come to pass when they make a long blast with the ram's horn and when you hear the sound of the trumpet, that all the people shall shout with a great shout. Then the wall of the city will fall down flat. Can you imagine hearing this? Marching, trumpets, shouting. This was God's strategy. It was a plan that required not military might, but absolute, unwavering obedience and faith. It was a call to trust God's word over what their eyes could see. So, they began. For 6 days, the army of Israel marched in a silent, solemn procession around the heavily fortified city. The only sounds were the shuffling of thousands of feet on the dusty ground and the rhythmic blast of the 7 trumpets. Inside the city, the people of Jericho must have watched from their high walls, first with curiosity, then with confusion, and finally with mockery. What kind of army tries to win a war by taking a walk? This silent parade must have seemed like a foolish, pointless ritual. Yet, for Israel, every step was an act of faith. Every silent lap around the city was a declaration of trust in God's bizarre command. Day 1 passed. The wall stood firm. Day 2, the same. Day 3, 4, 5, 6, nothing changed. The stones remained unmoved. The fortress stood as defiant as ever. It would have been easy to doubt, to question, to give up and resort to their own methods. But they kept walking. They kept trusting. Their faith was being forged in the crucible of obedience, their hearts aligning more and more with the will of God. Then came the 7th day. This day was different. The air crackled with anticipation. As the sun rose, they began to march, but not just once. They circled the city 7 times. With each lap, the tension mounted. The priests held their trumpets, the people held their breath. After the 7th and final lap, the procession stopped. A silence fell over the plains of Jericho. Then, at Joshua's command, the priests let out a long, powerful blast from their trumpets. The sound echoed across the valley. And Joshua cried out to the people, "Shout! For the Lord has given you the city. And at that moment, a sound rose from the throats of the entire nation of Israel, a single, unified, earth-shattering shout of faith. It wasn't a cry of desperation, it was a roar of victory, a vocalization of their belief in God's promise. And then, the impossible happened. The great walls of Jericho did not crack, they did not crumble or tilt. They collapsed. They fell straight down into the ground, turning the city's greatest defense into its ramp of entry. The foundation gave way, and the mighty fortress was laid bare. It wasn't the shout that brought the walls down. It was the power of God, unleashed through the faith and obedience of His people. Human strength played no part. Military genius was irrelevant. It was a divine demolition. The fall of Jericho was far more than just a military victory. It was a profound lesson for Israel and for all generations to come. It was a message, written in dust and rubble: no wall, no matter how high or how thick, is too strong for God to bring down. No obstacle, no matter how impossible it seems, is too big for Him to overcome. The story serves as a powerful reminder that God often operates outside of our human logic. His instructions may seem strange, even nonsensical, not to confuse us, but to teach us to trust Him completely. True faith isn't just believing that the walls will eventually fall. True faith is walking in obedience when the walls are still standing. It's taking the next step, day after day, even when you see no visible progress. And just like Israel, we all face our own Jerichos in life. They might not be physical walls of stone, but they are barriers that seem just as unconquerable. They can be walls of debt, of sickness, of broken relationships, of fear, or of doubt. They are the challenges that stand between us and the future we feel called to. Your part is to listen for His instruction, to walk in obedience, and to trust that He has already secured the victory. Thank you for watching, and if this story resonated with you, please subscribe for more content that explores the power of faith.